All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. My picture on the screen here looks so official with this flag behind me, but it's really pretty low key in here. So if anyone wants to show up in the room, it's really nice in here. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Um, and we have some new folks on the call today. So let's start with some introductions. My name is Angie Martell. I'm the environmental planner at PPACG, and I coordinate this air quality technical committee, which is now the air quality working group, which we'll get into. And I'll pass my introduction. Let's pass it off to Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Chavez, El Paso County.
Dina?
Hi, Dina Wojtak with Two Roads Environmental, here supporting Angie and Andy.
Jessica?
Jessica Cooper with Fort Carson.
Jacob?
Jacob Matson with Mountain Metro Transit.
Meredith?
Hello, I'm Meredith Lockwood. I'm an Environmental Health Division Manager at El Paso County Public Health, and I oversee our air quality program.
Thank you. And we have some new, I'll say faces, but new names here. Brooklyn? Oh, Brooklyn, that's Jessica, right?
Yes, we're together at Fort Carson.
I remember now. Thank you.
Yep.
Matthew?
Hi, Matthew Helfant, Mountain Metro Transit.
All right. Good to have you here. Who else? Sakota?
Hi, everyone. Sakota Matthew, research scientist with CDPHE.
Did I get everyone? Feel free to interrupt. I think that's everyone. All right. So first thing on the agenda today is our Air Quality Technical Committee survey. I sent this this survey out a couple months ago now, and we didn't have great participation on the survey, and I'll get into that, but I did want to share the results of this survey with you all, just so we're all on the same page. So we can go to the next slide. So first of all, you may be wondering, why on earth did we do this survey? So you probably also know our region faces some complex air quality challenges that require more of a coordinated collective action and some shared messaging. And PPACG as a regional organization cannot develop and implement effective strategies or outreach efforts and educational initiatives on our own. So that's why the Air Quality Technical Committee was established to serve as that regional forum to bring all of us partners together and drive collaborative solutions for our air quality challenges. However, we also recognize that the committee is not really functioning as effectively or collaboratively as we intended it to. So I wanted to better understand the barriers that are limiting our progress. So I put together this survey to identify what those challenges are, what are our sticking points, and what are the opportunities for improvement so we can strengthen our work together and make it more impactful for the communities we serve and just to be a more productive group. So I was hoping to gather more information on how we could improve our engagement together, identify different pathways to collaborate and be more effective. Also, I wanted to learn whether this is meeting your this group is meeting your needs, or if there was specific areas where we could improve. And then it was also an opportunity for you to provide anonymous suggestions and feedback to me on how this group could be better. And so let's go to the next slide. Unfortunately, I don't think the survey met those goals, partly because we only had 3 responses. And with those 3 responses, it it was sent out to 19 people, so the entire AQTC roster, minus the CDPHE staff. Just we took them out in effort to make it more of a regional focus. No offense, CDPHE. And then it only had 12 questions, took about 5 minutes maybe to complete the survey. So even though we only had these 3 responses, I still wanted to share what's useful out of the survey, although it is limiting with only 3. So we can go to the next one. So the first question, or not the first question on the survey, but which I'm sharing, it was try to understand how the AQTC felt like, how you as members felt like you were being effective or not. No one voted 5. I agree. Sometimes there's always room for improvement. So the 4 totally makes sense to me personally, although these are your responses, not mine. But at least, there's some acknowledgement that we could be more effective. And the next slide. There was also another question that was trying to evaluate what we could do to be more effective and to be more engaged. So there were some responses that indicated the lack of capacity, which I completely understand, and I'll talk about in a sec, and the suggestion to engage with sort of a communications representatives at each organization. So the lack of capacity is completely understandable. I know we're all busy. This is not your primary job. It's essentially a volunteering thing that you're doing in addition to all your other job responsibilities. But we also I don't try to ask a lot of this group, and I'm doing the best to develop and share tools that help us to collectively share similar messaging. So providing those communications tools for you. And then the hope, by you being the representative on this committee, is that you can collaborate with your communications departments in your organizations. However, if you think it would be better to have a communications person from your organization on this committee, they're welcome to join. So I just can't be doing the collaboration with every individual. That's why we have this committee, is I'm hoping that you will help do that. And so with that, we're not for asking for more than really 2 hours of your time each month max. And really ozone season is when we're asking for probably the most assistance from you to help get that ozone messaging out, especially during ozone season. And this could evolve, this could change as this group changes, and as we get more engagement. So I understand you have lack of capacity, and I'm trying to not ask too much of you, but we do need some engagement. So let's go to the next one. This one kind of was trying to evaluate our structure and see if we could, if we had the right structure to be effective. And it appears like there is some room for improvement to be more effective. We will think on this, but if you have any specific suggestions, I'd love to hear more on what kind of structure would help this group. I'm more than happy to make some changes. I just need to know what works for you guys. And this is really your group, your committee, and we need some drive from the inside to see what you guys want to suggest and want to move forward on. We can go to the next one. Okay, and then I wanted to evaluate whether you thought we were being collaborative, or is it just me that thinks we're not being collaborative, and whether you would recommend this group to a colleague. And it, with only 3 responses, this is what we got. At least 2 of you would, that's encouraging, and a rating of 3.3 on our overall collaboration. In the middle, not too good, not too bad. I'd like to see what that would be if we had more participation on the survey. But I just wanted to share that one with you. And then the next one, I put out on the survey a few suggestions for specific actions that we could take on to improve engagement. And there were a variety of options were provided in this question with hopes that we could determine some clear solutions or strategies to help the group be more engaged and participate. There was at least one vote, though, for almost every option. So with only 3 responses, I couldn't determine any useful direction here. However, it should be noted that 2 people indicated that they view the AQTC as more of a forum to obtain air quality information. So a non-action, but I attend this meeting so that I can absorb air quality information. So with that, I just want to say it's completely fine to be part of this group as a way of staying informed, but we also need doers on this committee. And I'm just going to be frank about that. We need people who are interested in helping us move initiatives forward and suggesting initiatives and helping us get out a shared message about our air quality and ozone issues. PPACG can't tackle all of our air quality challenges on our own, and so we need you, people who are interested and able to help out. If that's not you specifically, we need all of your organizations need to be part of this, and so I'm really happy that all of you are here. But if you don't think you're the individual who needs to be here to do the implementing, please let me know if someone in your organization would be a better fit. You're still welcome to join, and I appreciate you being here. But again, I'll say we need some doers. So feel free to reach out to me separately about that if you have someone else who'd like to be on the committee. And so with that, I'd like to hear any thoughts. Our next slide, thoughts on, what you think of this survey, what you think of the interpretation of the results, any feedback.
I wanted to say that I apologize if I missed the survey that was sent out. I'm not sure if it was emailed out and I just sort of missed that email, or if there's a mailing list that I'm not on that I should be on. So I apologize, but I think maybe if it was, I know for sure if it was resent out, I would fill it out. I don't know how, if others on the call would find it beneficial to either retake or to have it sent back out again. But my vote would be, if it does get sent out, I'd be happy to fill it out.
So Sakota, I did not send it to you. I didn't send it to any of the CDPHE folks. So apologies that you weren't included. I appreciate you being on this committee and being part of all of the work that we do, but the intent was to keep the answers more, I guess, regionally focused on what, the implementers would do.
Of course.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Totally. Thank you.
And I'm not trying to point fingers or make anyone feel shame for not filling it out. It's more of just want to highlight that we don't have a lot of engagement on this group, and I want to hear from you all on how you think it could be better.
Hey, Angie, would it not be a bad idea just to send it out again? And now we've kind of had this discussion, send it back out and have the committee take another look at it and give the vote, because that'll probably get you more what you're looking for if we have another opportunity to fill it out.
I'd be willing to do that if folks think that they do want to complete the survey. Does this group think that the survey would be useful to figure out ways to move forward?
Yes.
One vote.
Hey, Angie, Chris Welch, Colorado Springs Utilities. Yes, I think getting as many responses as we could from participants in the committee could be helpful in establishing a path forward.
Thank you.
Victoria, I'll agree with that. I will admit it just slipped through me on the emails, on the thousands of them that you get a week.
Yes, I understand the full inbox. We can put it as more of a priority email. Okay,
And-
that's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Angie. One follow-up. If folks previously completed the survey, it would just be helpful to know if you would like them to complete it again if you send it back out, or if you'll just keep the original responses and supplement with any additional you get.
Yeah, I can. Let me look into that, and I'll let you guys know.
Perfect.
Just
Thank
in the
you.
way that the survey's set up. Okay, I think that's enough votes. It sounds like you guys do want to complete the survey, which I appreciate. And I just want to add, if there are questions that I didn't ask, but you want to provide some feedback on something that's not asked, just lay it on me. I don't hold back. I will not be offended. We want to figure out the best way forward. So there will be plenty of room in the survey to just add comments. Okay, well, thank you guys for that and for your interest in wanting to move forward with that survey. I'll send it out at least by next week and send some reminders as well. All right, so let's go to our next agenda. Any other thoughts? Any before we go? Okay. All right, so our next agenda item is this air quality technical committee structure, and AQWG is who we actually are. So our next step. So as you may recall, we talked to our board about changing the air quality technical committee from a committee to a working group. And the point of that was to give us more flexibility on getting new members, and with getting new members, getting more engagement and more movement on some of the initiatives, air quality initiatives we want to move forward. And it also gives me flexibility in terms of preparing minutes and stuff like that. So so the point of that is that the board has agreed that the AQTC is now a working group. So you'll see things as the AQWG, and that's Air Quality Working Group. So that's how we'll move forward as a group. It doesn't really change much on how we're currently operating, other than we have more flexibility if new members want to join and be part of this group. So any questions on that? Okay. And then as far as next steps, earlier this year, we had brought forward a scope and purpose for the AQTC. It will be now the scope and purpose for the AQWG. That was put on pause as we looked at turning the committee into a working group. So now that we are officially a working group, we'll bring that forward again, and that document was to try to figure out where you guys want to focus your efforts and what's the purpose of the working group. So we'll revisit that and look for your engagement and input on how you want to move forward as a working group. Okay, any last thoughts on that? Any questions? Does it make sense? Go ahead, Dina.
I'm just asking myself, what was the value? I know you have explained it in the past. I just don't quite recall what it was. The value of going to a working group. Does that give this group more flexibility in conversations, or can you just refresh us?
Yeah, Jared, can you provide us? Jared has the real details there. I'll let him speak to that if you're okay.
Sure, I'll do my best. I'm a little gravelly right now. So the biggest benefit is on the membership side. Now, I will say air quality had not been kind of following the committee steps as the other committees had, and that technically anybody who was a member of the air quality technical committee had to be approved by a board of directors. As a working group, that's no longer the case, so it allows people to come in without having to kind of go through those extra steps. It allows someone who might have that expertise and knowledge to be able to join right away, and without it really kind of being that overly bureaucratic, for lack of better terms, process. Now, if anything policy related does come out, that policy proposal would go to our Transportation Advisory Committee, and that's where the PPACG governance process will kick in. So the limitation between committee and working group, and again, I would say the air quality group had already been working in that environment, so this is really not a huge change procedurally. But yeah, if anything were to come up, or let me step back. But the focus on the working group, it allows people who are kind of the more the doers, the people who are actually on the ground, as opposed to kind of sometimes your policy wonks who, you know, you're thinking 15, 20 years down the road, and how we need to change policy, as opposed to like, hey, we just need to get these programs off the ground. And I think that's kind of the big difference between the two working groups we just established between air quality and mobility, and that more formal committee structure, which is kind of looking at more at that policy level outlook.
Thank you.
I'll also add a minor detail with the technical committee structure. We needed to have a chair and a vice chair and those sorts of things, which this group hasn't had for a while. And this just allows us to be more flexible in working together and not following such rigid structure. Okay. All right. Well, if there are no more questions there or objections, we'll go on to our next item C on the agenda, which is, Dina, you got the floor again.
So I did manage to put together 2 quick slides, so I'm going to share them, and I'm going to apologize in advance. There might be typos because I just put them together in the last 30 minutes. Right, window. Right. And, all right, can you guys see that?
We can see it. It's a little small. If you can, do you have the presentation screen?
I lost it.
Of course.
It used to be in the bottom there. Hang on. There it is. All right.
Perfect.
All right. So I was asked to talk about the Clean Air and Economic Advancement Reform bill that has been introduced in the House of Representatives. So I've got a quick snapshot of where what you can see in terms of the status of it from congress.gov. And at the end of this, I can share a link to where you can find the bill itself. It's very specific to the Clean Air Act and making a number of revisions. So it's not made a lot of progress. So I just wanted to share it because it has some interesting concepts in it. It touches on national ambient air quality standards, the NAAQS. It touches on state implementation plan requirements and federal implementation plan requirements, as well as sanctions and exceptional events. So some of the highlights in terms of what it does with the NAAQS is currently NAAQS is required by the Clean Air Act to be reviewed every 5 years. EPA has not done a great job about doing that. It's a very long, drawn out process. So the revision is to change that to a 10-year rotation. I do want to highlight that the last ozone NAAQS came out in 2015, and so it's 2025. So still would be looking at the ozone NAAQS if this were to go forward. There's also consideration of attainability when setting the NAAQS. So areas' ability to attain, for emission, regardless of emissions, I guess not regardless, but depending on emissions and where they're coming from. So we can control man-made emissions. We can't control natural events and other like wildfire events that would be deemed as exceptional events. So there's this whole consideration of attainability, and that's kind of a new concept. And there's also the revision that the makeup of the Clean Air Act Scientific Advisory Committee, CASAC, that committee is supposed to represent a broader mix of folks. This would clarify that, certain people come from different regions throughout the entire EPA regions throughout the entire nation. And then that committee makes recommendations on setting of the NACs to EPA. And so those are related to the setting of the NACs. As far as SIP requirements and FIP requirements, there's certain elements that have to be satisfied depending on the degree of a non-attainment areas, I guess related to its classification. So whether it's marginal, clear up to extreme, there's different requirements as an area continues to have troubles meeting or attaining the standard. And so this Clear Act revision specifically removes contingency measures for extreme areas, because those areas, they've gone from marginal to moderate to serious to severe, and 2 levels of severe and then extreme. And so they've gone through that entire process. And since they were a serious non-attainment area, they've had to come up with what's called contingency measures. And that means they have regulations that automatically kick in should the area not attain the standard by the next attainment date. And so there's like control strategies like waiting in the wings to kick in automatically. That has been challenging in particular for Colorado, because Colorado historically is not weighted. They develop strategies and they adopt them often on a state-only basis to try to get them moving faster. But anyway, the Clean Air Act would be revised to remove the contingency measure requirements for extreme areas. This bill also would address sanctions and actually providing relief for sanctions and I guess from sanctions. And when I talk about sanctions, they are in terms of, withholding federal highway funding for projects, as well as some, I think it's sources are obligated to pay penalty fees. So in the case where emissions and attainment is beyond that local authority's control, they're trying to provide relief from those sanctions that would apply otherwise. And then lastly, exceptional events. And this bill spends the majority of time on exceptional events. And so again, exceptional events are those kinds of meteorologic events that and then there are also natural events where you say during like a wildfire event, those emissions, impact the monitors, what we see at the monitors, and where you can do a demonstration to show you would have attained but for that specific event. In terms of this bill, they are redefining or making changes to the definition of exceptional event that can now include not just natural events, but also wildfire mitigation activities. So that's actually human caused, but that's done for a good reason. So they want to include those mitigation activities as exceptional events. They also did something where they removed an exclusion from what could have been considered an exceptional event. And so it's kind of the form of a negative on a negative. So really what this is trying to say is by removing this exclusion that meteorologic events associated with high temperatures and precipitation, they can now be considered as exceptional events, where currently the Clean Air Act has an exclusion for that. And here in the Intermountain West and Pikes Peak region, we often see those high temperatures and low precipitation, and then that can have significant impacts on ozone, right? Because, precipitation usually have the clouds coming in that prevent the sunlight from triggering that ozone reaction. And so it can slow the formation of ozone, and then high temperature usually need temperature to go along with that. So that is a revision that they have included in this bill as drafted. They've also specified that EPA should develop exceptional events guidance within 18 months of that final act. And we are hearing actually the EPA, despite what happens with this bill, we are already hearing the EPA is in the process of developing revised exceptional events guidance here, hopefully soon by the end of the year. At least for a proposal, and they'll be looking for comments. So I'm not saying they're finalizing it soon, but this bill as drafted would also require that when two or more states that are dealing with the same exceptional event, like a wildfire, and the smoke from a wildfire, they can request EPA to help and do a significant part of the analysis. And so that's a big help for the states in doing those exceptional events demonstrations. They are extremely resource intensive and detailed. So that's an element. And then lastly, there's this public facing accountability for EPA in terms of what exceptional event demonstrations have been submitted to them for review versus which ones they have acted on. It's very common that EPA does not act on all exceptional event demonstrations that have been submitted to them. They focus on the ones that will actually make a difference in terms of an attainment demonstration or a non-attainment reclassification, that kind of thing. So that's the bulk of what's in the bill. I have heard just an hour or so ago that there are a number of other bills that are out there related to the Clean Air Act, but I think this is the most extensive to my knowledge. So with that, are there any questions?
I'll also add that we're presenting this mostly just we wanted you to be aware that it's out there. And PPACG has talked to our board about this, and we just are on a monitoring position to just sort of see where it goes.
All right, well, I will put in the chat where you can find, I can't, turned off for the meeting. Sorry. If you go to congress.gov and you look up HR 4218, you will pull up that bill as introduced.
And if you can't find it, we can share the resource via email as well. If anyone's interested, just reach out to me or Dina. Okay, I'll assume that there are no questions on that, looks like. Okay, and we'll hand it over to Sakota for some updates on our ozone season. And then questions, I'll let you go first and then I have a question.
Sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Please let me know if you're having any trouble viewing it. The presentation is going to be extremely short today, simply because we're coming to the end of the ozone season and there have been very few events or even exceedances that have occurred. So we're going to be looking at 2 slides that are basically showing the ozone tracking for the month of September. As the note says, there have been no days in the month of September thus far that have been flagged for stratospheric intrusions. So if we're looking at the September 2025 monitor data, as you noticed, I have from September 1st to the 21st, which is as close as we could have gotten to today's date. And again, the highlighted deep green portions, which is the U.S. Air Force Academy and the Manitou Springs monitors. There were no exceedances either for the 70 or 75 parts per billion standard.
Sakota, I think we need the
Yes.
next slide. Sorry.
Oh, my apologies.
There we go.
Are you able to see it now, or is it just when I get in
Look-
present here?
Yeah, we're on slide 2.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
So yes, those the very first column there and the other deep green column are the 2 columns for the Pikes Peak area. And as I mentioned, there were no exceedances for the 70 nor the 75 parts per billion standard. And for the 4th max, oops, I don't know why it keeps doing that. My apologies. But for the 4th max, there were no exceedances either for the 70 or the 75 parts per billion, which is all good information. And as I mentioned, we're towards the end of the ozone season, so knock on wood, we don't expect to have any future exceedances. But yeah, and that was just all that I had to share for today.
Great, thanks. So, my apologies for forgetting. Does ozone season end in September or October?
So ozone season ends in September, unless something happened that I'm unaware of. But
Yeah,
I believe
okay.
it ends in September. Yes.
All right. So I think our next meeting, we probably won't have an update on our ozone season, but it looks like it was a pretty good season for us in terms of not too much exceedance. Correct?
Correct. From the presentations that I've done, I did not, from memory, note any exceedances for either of the 2 Pikes Peak monitors.
Right,
Dina, if you're asking a question, you're on mute.
I didn't have any questions.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. So yeah, the summertime ozone season goes technically from May 1st to September 30th, but technically, according to EPA, the whole year is the ozone season. So if we have a violation at any time throughout the year, which is unlikely after the summertime. The other thing I wanted to highlight is there will be an overall briefing on ozone at the next Air Quality Control Commission meeting. It's a joint meeting with the Board of Health here in October. So if you're looking for that overall summary, we can get you that information as well.
Yeah. Would it be interesting to hear a summary of that meeting, everybody?
I think that'd be helpful.
Okay. All right. Well, we got at least one vote. I think it would be interesting. So we'll try to pull out some highlights out of that meeting. Any questions for Sakota? Okay. So Andy, I know was kind of a TBD. You see he's on the agenda of our next item here. I put him at the end knowing that he may or may not be able to get here in time. So Dina and I will try to give you an update on some various work that they've been doing in the background on our background ozone issue. So yeah, Andy's not here is the point. So we'll fill in for him. So Andy and Dina actually met with the EPA Region 8 administrator last week or the week before, along with the North Front Range MPO new executive director. Dina, if you want, would you be able to give sort of a summary of that meeting? I don't know if you're speaking, but you're on mute if you are.
Okay, yes.
Thanks.
We met with Administrator Western on the 12th, and it was mostly to, first of all, introduce ourselves to EPA Region 8, the new administrator there, and kind of familiarize him with the specific challenges that are being faced in the Pikes Peak area in terms of meeting ozone standards. We also had some goals of, highlighting what Andy and his team have been doing, and specifically kind of highlighting the work that he's doing, engaging with other metropolitan planning organizations in the Intermountain West. And so he's been doing a lot of work with Arizona and Utah and Nevada, as well as folks here in Colorado, because we all have ozone non-attainment areas and are challenged with meeting and attaining the standard because there are specific emission contributions that are coming from outside those areas controls. And that can be anything from international contributions to what we talked about, the exceptional events and emissions from wildfires and stratospheric intrusions and other kinds of things that are beyond the local authority's ability to control. Introduce them to that, those challenges, as well as some of the communications that have been shared with their predecessors, as well as headquarters, and then made the ask of, asking EPA to help us put together a conference or a field hearing, gathering information on what's going on in terms of the different states or air agencies' efforts to better understand the disconnect that we're all experiencing from, or between ozone precursor reduction efforts not translating into the ozone reductions at ozone at the monitors. And so different states are doing different things. They're all trying to understand and trying to figure out what to do next, because continuing to do the same things is challenging, especially if you're not sure it's going to actually translate into ozone reduction at the monitors. EPA response, they heard us. They are challenged with staffing and resource limitations themselves. Their workforce has been drastically reduced. And so they encouraged us to work through an entity called Westar, which is a member organization of different air agencies within the Intermountain West. And so it was encouraging from that standpoint. And we are, currently gathering information to better understand what we would like to be discussed at that conference, should it be held. We're hoping for something first 3 months of 2026 to kind of inform next steps. And I think those are the big highlights. Angie, is there anything else to share?
No, I think you hit the major points there, at least with that the meeting with that administrator. Andy also was out in DC last week with Jared, meeting with a bunch of folks. So I don't have the rundown on those meetings. So we'll get Andy to give you an update on that next time. But that's basically what has been going on in the background. Andy's been working on that issue quite a bit, and just wanted to let you guys know, and Dina as well. So I just wanted to let you guys know about all that work. Any questions there? Okay, well, we will keep you updated as that moves on. If there's no questions, we'll keep moving on here. So in our information items, I have some meeting modifications. So at this point in time, I am going to suggest that we move the air quality working group meetings to bi-monthly, just to give you guys more time back. And we're also continuing to look at sort of restructuring and looking at how to be more effective. Does anyone have thoughts? I guess it's an information, should be more of a discussion item, but whatever. Anyone have thoughts on, or ideas or preferences on whether we go to a bi-monthly meeting? Hoping to get some votes here.
Yeah, I think bi-monthly meeting's fine. You could also consider, if you want to, with that survey to see kind of what the tenor of the group is here based on that too.
That's a great idea. Anyone have thoughts on whether that would be more or less effective? You may not. Okay, we'll go with Jacob's suggestion, and I'll add that question into the survey. And so it gives you some more time to think about that. But if just to prep you for next month, we may go bi-monthly, at least until we hear back from folks on that survey. But more to come on that. If you have any suggestions you want to send out to me via email, that's fine as well. And then last thing on our agenda here is I just wanted to make you all aware of a grant program through the Colorado Energy Office. It's currently open. I think it opened last week, and it's open until October 17th. The Fleet Zero grant program. So if any of your organizations have been looking at making upgrades to your fleet to electrify your fleets or put in charging stations, it's a really good grant program. It's quite a bit of money too. So I know you probably aren't the fleet people in your organization, and if you are, that's great. But please share this with whoever is in charge of your fleet at your organization. Or reach out to Colorado Energy Office if you have questions as well. I just wanted to make you aware of it, and there's a link there to learn more about it. All right, last thing here, we have about 11 minutes. Does anyone have any, this is kind of a standing agenda item, and maybe this is something we talk about if we want it to continue being on here, but anyone have announcements? This is meant to be a placeholder for, talking about projects you can collaborate on, or different projects you're currently working on in the air quality realm that you think are sort of cross-cutting for this group. So I'll leave it there. That was a question. Do you have an announcement, or do you have thoughts on whether we need to have this on the agenda?
I'll give something of like a small update here at Transit, just kind of more of an FYI than anything else, is we're starting to deploy, we've been deploying our new hybrid buses out there. So you might see them out there on the street. They're kind of more noticeable. They kind of have a different look from our diesels, and the top has that kind of like extended cab on top. So if you're looking around, you'll see them. They also are with the unit number 25 and some change. So it's 25-0 whatever. And yeah, so those are out there. We're getting our operators trained on those. They're not fully trained, everybody up and down, but we're working on getting them through that. So if you haven't seen them already, you should start seeing them out there filtering throughout the streets.
That's awesome. How many are there?
When all is said and done, we'll have 6 out there. And then, of course, we're looking at additional in the future.
Great. Any others? All right, well, that was a good one. Okay, and then of course, public comments. There's no one here from the public. Is there anyone online that wants to make a public comment? Okay, no, but we know who everyone is here. All right, so I'll send out that survey. Looking for, hope you guys will be able to complete it, and we'll give you probably until if our meeting is next month, to complete that. So I'll send that out as soon as I can. And we'll talk soon. All right, thanks everybody.